Hello everyone, Travis here, and welcome to another Mega Park episode here on SimFox. In today's episode, we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit, and as I mentioned several episodes ago, I have saved this back corner for something kind of special. This time last year, I was working on my Spooky Island series, and of course I'll link that in the description below, and I thought about maybe doing a rehab or revisiting it in some way, but unfortunately I no longer have that save file anymore because right after the completion of that park, I upgraded my computer, and not everything transferred over properly. I thought it would be a little bit too redundant to do a new Halloween themed park for this year, so I thought maybe I would just do like an individual themed attraction. I also even considered Planet Coaster, which would actually be pretty great with the new DLC that just came out, but I actually haven't bought it yet. And when I made the plans that you're currently seeing on the screen right now, that DLC did not exist, and to me Planet Coaster wasn't really an option for this. So what I decided to do is I decided to save this back area of the park to be a ghost town themed area. There is actually a ghost town theme at Knott's Berry Farm in Southern California, and it has some pretty cool attractions, including a really awesome wooden coaster called GhostRider. So that's what we're going to start out with today. We're going to create our own GhostRider, and I did decide to name the coaster that. If you can think of something else that fits the theme that's better, please comment down below, and I will change the name if the right suggestion comes through. There are actually several rides and attractions that still need names right now, including this floorless coaster, this simple splash boats ride that's going to be kind of a western theme, this vintage cars ride that we worked on a few episodes ago that is completely inside this building, and everything associated with this complex, including the drop towers and the two flat rides. Comment any name suggestions that you have for any of these below, and if I like it, I will change the ride name to that and credit you in the showcase. As you can see, I changed the color of the coaster to a more natural wood color. GhostRider at Knott's Berry Farm is a CCI coaster, but I feel like the layout for this kind of hints more towards a GCI layout, although not entirely. The differences between CCI and GCI are actually very minimal, but both the wood color and twistiness of the layout causes this coaster to lean more towards GCI in my opinion. The interesting thing about wooden coasters is because there's not just one manufacturer that creates them, the layouts can be kind of anything you want them to be. Of course, it needs to remain realistic to what manufacturers would and could do in real life, but because the wooden roller coaster in general is so old, the layouts in the last 100+ years have significantly varied, and I for one am a really big fan of wooden roller coasters. I know some people find them to be a little bit uncomfortable and rough depending on how, when, and by who they were manufactured, but I've basically enjoyed every single wooden coaster I've ridden on, including Cyclone at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which was voted the worst wooden roller coaster I think ever. Right now you see that I am beefing up the supports a little bit. I use the game provided support scenery pieces, but then in areas where those won't fit, I use zero clearance and the wooden fence from the Wild West set to create my own custom support system. I actually like the way that the custom wooden fence support system looks, and I would do the whole coaster that way, but it would just take me way too long. In the future, if I have a theme that allows for a really detailed wooden coaster, I may try my hand at doing a full support system like that. I've also seen it done to create supports for custom hybrid coasters using the B&M twister track and swapping out the trains. With OpenRCT2 Tycoon 2, there is a lot that we can do now that was just impossible in the vanilla game. But one thing I've been thinking about lately is creating and completing my own scenarios, because playing the scenario part of the game isn't something that I've ever really done in this game. It was more of a focus for me back in Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 when I was a young teenager. But I think instead of playing sandbox mode all the time, it would be a nice change to go back to kind of the roots of that. And I'm not a huge fan of the scenarios that come with Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, so I'd either be creating my own or downloading some, or most likely a combination of both. You'll see right now I'm just tweaking the layout a little bit, trying to make it look a little twistier and more cohesive with the rest of the layout. Interestingly, this coaster has a similar footprint to the GhostRider that it is inspired nearby, even though the layout is completely different. GhostRider at Knott's Berry Farm actually has a really cool part where it goes out over the main road, and you have to drive under the coaster to get into the park. And I remember I was in 4th grade when it first opened, and I didn't get to ride it until a few years later, but I was actually at Knott's Berry Farm when they were testing it and getting it ready for the general public, and I had never seen a wooden roller coaster like that before. And GhostRider actually ended up being the very first wooden roller coaster I ever rode as a kid, and now it is on a list of several others. Eventually, I'd like to sit down and think about all of the parks that I've been to and find out what my actual coaster count is, because I actually have no idea, and it would be good to know, although I'm afraid that that number might actually be a little bit too low to brag about. But next summer, so like in 8 or 9 months, I will be going to Cedar Point and hopefully Dollywood so that I can get those credits out of the way and cross off those bucket list items. And then maybe after that trip, I will actually sit down and come up with my coaster count and maybe even do like a top 10 roller coasters I've ridden sort of video or something along those lines. In addition to playing roller coaster related games, I'm definitely a bit of an enthusiast as well. You'll see at the end of this video I do start to put in some of that Halloween inspired scenery and whatnot, and I don't really like the way that it turns out, and I'm not really entirely sure about the way I did the fence around this coaster, so I will likely change some of those things in either the next episode or the episode after that. Ultimately, the goal is to finish this area by Halloween, so I don't see it being more than 1 or 2 more episodes after this one before we transition into another area of the mega park. Things are really hopping and popping in the Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 and the Open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 communities right now. And I recently put out a Join Us on Discord video, and I know some of you probably didn't watch that because it had a little bit of a weird title. But just to kind of reiterate, Coaster Guy 1209 got a group of us together and we all set up a Discord server to act as kind of a chat and interactive community for all of our channels and subscribers. It's a pretty cool little place so far. As of the recording of this commentary, we have like 130, 140 people or so, and we're getting new people every day. We run little challenges and have discussions about just about anything. It's easy to join and signing up is free, so if you want to get involved with our Discord server, I have included an invitation link in the description below, and I really hope you'll consider joining us. We are still on track to finish this Mega Park series by the end of the year, and that will make it a year-long project and my longest series to date. So thank you all for sticking with me and staying engaged in this. But at any rate, I think that wraps things up for commentary for today. Give this video a thumbs up if you like what you see. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what you think of how this turned out, or any suggestions that you have for this section of the park, or just in general what your thoughts are on this project overall, and any suggestions that you have for any area of the park. Also, as I mentioned earlier, ride name suggestions are welcome, and I also welcome criticism, assuming that it is constructive. I'm definitely not perfect, and there's always something new to learn or different methods to help simplify the process or whatever the case. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and turn on notifications so that you can get alerts of when I upload future content. And with that said, you all have a great morning, afternoon, evening, night, etc., wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all next time.